Prices are rising. Families are hurting. Americans know exactly who is making it worse. A CNN poll this morning said 77% say Trump has raised their costs. What is the GOP response? $1 billion ballroom. Fancy, gold-plated. It's outrageous.
I doubled the size of it, you dumb person. Double the size.
Cuba. What about
you are not a smart person.
$1 billion ballroom. These are the ballroom Republicans. At the very moment Americans are pleading for relief, Republicans are telling them, pay for Trump's palace first.
That's right. Americans are getting crushed economically due to Trump's incredibly stupid decision to attack Iran and start a war, which has led to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, thus robbing the globe of 20% of oil and gas that is transited through that strait. But rather than help Americans, Trump wants to divert more of our tax resources toward his gold-gilded White House ballroom. Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so of course the ballroom's a robbery for Liberace 2.0. I don't know why Trump is so obsessed with decorating everything. He's like the most fabulous president we've ever had. And so I get it. You're like obsessed with interior design, but that's not what we hired you for. But I want to tell you guys in a minute, I have a proposal that could fix this entire thing. Now remember, his buddies, his rich buddies, like Miriam Adelson, were supposed to pay for that ballroom. So they lied to you. Now they're saying, we're gonna get it from you instead. Miriam's busy buying us for Israel, okay? So, but I have a solution that could fix all this. But Anna, give them the facts first.
Since Senate Republicans hold a slight majority and Democrats are unlikely to vote in favor of a $1 billion ballroom funding bill, the GOP would have to pass that legislation through the reconciliation process, meaning a simple majority. Now, in order to do that and not run into the issues with the legislative filibuster, which requires 60 senators to vote in favor of something in order for it to pass, the reconciliation process would require Senate Republicans to redirect funding from something else to the ballroom. That's how reconciliation works. And so Senate Democrats argue that the money violates the strict budget reconciliation process, which would lead to it being stripped out of a $70 billion immigration enforcement funding bill. Now, I personally don't have a problem with that. I mean, I have a problem with funding the White House ballroom to the tune of $1 billion. But for the conservatives who might be watching this right now, the conservatives who voted for Trump because you care about, mass deportations or harsher immigration enforcement. How do you feel about this news? How do you feel about the fact that Senate Republicans are ready and willing to redirect $70 billion or money from the $70 billion immigration enforcement funding bill to Trump's golden White House ballroom? Anyway, and if they don't redirect that funding from someplace else to help fund Trump's $1 billion ballroom, Senator Rand Paul admits that I have a feeling that it won't be in the bill or it won't pass the Byrd test. So the Byrd test is what requires this whole funding mechanism under the reconciliation process. He also said that his preference is for no more taxpayer money to go to this ballroom. He wants to authorize the project and have private money funded, just like Trump had promised. And Senator Susan Collins agrees. So it looks like there are some Republicans in the Senate who are, wavering on this. And he is, again, referring to the procedural viability under the Byrd rule. Funding for the White House ballroom has to come from someplace else, right? So where's it gonna come from? Let's take a look at the next video.
You have repeatedly said that taxpayers would not pay for the ballroom at the White House. Why should taxpayers now be on the hook for $1 billion for that project? And Secretary
That's for
Mueller.
many other projects. That's for projects having to do with safety in a certain section of the White House grounds. That's not all for the ballroom. And we're putting up $400 million to do the ballroom section of the ballroom. We are putting that up privately. I am doing it along with other patriots that love our country. but they want to do certain things militarily with respect to the ballroom.
So, Cenk, on a day when I hosted the show alone, I had covered what the issue is with the ballroom funding. Okay, so Trump had the public believe that it was going to be privately funded, but it turns out that he's also building an underground bunker for, I guess he's expecting some sort of apocalyptic event to happen, because when a federal judge forced the administration to pause construction on the ballroom, it was because of the fact that Trump was using taxpayer money that's meant to fund the underground bunker for security reasons on the Golden Ballroom, which you can't do. You're not supposed to do that, especially when it's supposed to be funded through private means. Then the White House Correspondents' Dinner happens. The would-be assassin does his thing. Trump immediately exploits that horrific event for his ballroom propaganda. And immediately you have Republican members of Congress talking about the need to fund the ballroom. We have to fund the ballroom. But I thought the ballroom was being funded by private money. So apparently Trump is calling for unity after another violent incident. But the way this gets covered depends on who's trying to spin it and who's willing to call it out. On the right, the framing turns Trump into some kind of heroic victim, a uniquely important figure being targeted because he's just that powerful. On the left, the focus is on Trump's long, obvious relationship with violent rhetoric and the political climate he helped create. Same event, completely different narrative. And that is exactly why I recommend Ground News. It's a website and app that pulls together reporting from across the political spectrum so you can compare headlines side by side, see the bias distribution of the coverage, check the factuality ratings of the sources, and even see who owns the outlets behind the reporting. Because once you start looking at coverage that way, it becomes a lot easier to see when the media isn't informing you, it's managing your perception. Ground News also has a blind spot feed, which highlights stories that one side of the political spectrum is barely covering at all, so you're not trapped inside the version of events your media bubble wants you to accept. If you're tired of being fed somebody else's narrative, I genuinely recommend Ground News. Go to ground.news/TYT or scan the QR code to get 40% off Ground News Vantage Plan. So, today when a reporter asked Trump why the cost of the ballroom has doubled in price, here's how he answered.
We have a ballroom that's under budget. It's going up right here. I've doubled the size of it because we obviously need that. And we're right now on budget, under budget, and ahead of schedule. I doubled the size of it, you dumb person. Double the size. You are not a smart person.
And of course, Trump never misses an opportunity to tell us what his real priorities are. One more video and then back over to you, Cenk.
It's not possible for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things. They can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing: military protection.
Military protection and, of course, Trump's ballroom. Back over to you, Cenk.
Yeah, so first of all, they said that they'd pay for it and Miriam Adelson would cover it because she's so generous and lovely to Americans. But apparently she spent all of her bribes, getting Trump to attack Iran. And now they're gonna take it out of your hide, as always. Okay, so it's way more expensive than he originally promised. And the buffoon destroyed it, the East Wing, before asking anyone, before getting permission, before getting a permit, before figuring out what to put in, because he's a child and he's a destroyer, not a builder, okay? And all he ever does is destroy things. Okay, so what's my idea? If you want this nonsense to stop, say to Trump, okay, we'll fund it, but you're not allowed to touch the project at all. Other people will design it, they'll be in charge of it, and you won't be able to touch a single drape or tapestry in the ballroom.
He'll die. Like that's what he lives
drive
for.
him crazy.
Yeah.
He'll be like, oh my God, what do I do? I wanted to design it so much. I wanted it covered in tacky gold and all the good stuff that I just love, right? Well, if you're gonna take $1 billion from us, no, you don't get to design the ballroom. If you do that, I swear to you, he will cry and cry and cry, because it isn't about the ballroom. It isn't about the bunker. It's about him wanting to get his rocks off on like doing all of the things he always imagined in a ballroom. That's what this is about.
That is what this is about. And look, there are some Republican senators who aren't buying it. And remember, so look, there are, I believe, 53 Republican senators. And so they can only afford to lose the support of 3 Republican senators. So if they can get 50 Republican senators to vote in favor of the $1 billion funding bill for Trump's precious White House ballroom, JD Vance will come in, he'll be the tie-breaking vote. But already we know that seems like Lisa Murkowski isn't buying it. John Thune is like, I want to see how Trump intends to spend this money, and then I'll make a decision about it. You have Senator Todd Young, a Republican from Indiana, who told Semaphore that he's generally supportive of the idea of the ballroom and increasing White House security with Trump's beloved underground bunker. We know from his first term how much he loves those bunkers. But he said he wants to learn more about how the money will be used. So we'll see how this plays out. But at the end of the day, Trump shows us what his priorities are, and it's not the American people.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.